Welcome to the Badass Babe Manifest podcast. The vibe here is how to manifest in a simple and fun way, implementing my abundance DNA method without the bullshit, overcomplicated hacks or fluff. I'm your host, Kelly Pender, your spiritual manifestation coach, and together we're going to uncover your unique abundance frequency, step into who the fuck you are unapologetically, and remove the limitation caps as well as playing it small to open yourself the F up to the unlimited abundance, success, and money to easily flow into your life and or business. Let's manifest that shit. Hello, my love. Welcome back to another episode of the Badass Babe Manifest podcast. I did a special collab on Instagram with Rozana from Rozana Manifest, and it was so good, so effing powerful that we decided to put it on both of our podcasts. And we're talking about how to end manifestation sabotage for good with just 2 simple steps. And so Rozana shares her expertise in manifestation. And then the second step, I share my expertise. And we just have such a really awesome dynamic together. This is a really fun podcast. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's to the effing point. We're going to be like, oh, I get it. Ooh, this just clicked. This just landed for me. So let me know what comes your way when you tune in. And if you have been loving the pod, if you have been loving my work in my world, whether you're new here or whether you've been here for years, I would be so effing grateful if you could give this podcast a 5-star rating, which simply means if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, or if you're not, you can do that on your phone, on your laptop. Just hit the 5 stars. Doink, that's it. It takes 2 seconds. Let me know, and I will send you a special gift to reconfigure your electromagnetic field to manifest everything you fucking desire. That's it. I'm so excited. It'll take you literally 2 seconds. And then just slide into my DMs and I'll send you that special gift. All right, my love, without further ado, enjoy this conversation with me and Rozana, and let me know what lands so I can celebrate you.
Hey, this is going to be so fun. I'm so excited that we're collabing today. This is going to be cream of the crop.
Me too. I'm so excited. So, hi everyone. So if you're coming from Kelly's side, my name is Rozana. I'm a self-concept mindset coach, and I help women quantum lead their entire life, every single area, using the power of self-concept and manifestation and my quantum embodied method so that you revamp your entire life and experience like wild ass manifestation super fast. So
love it. Yes. Yay.
Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Rozana. So, yes. So you guys, we are both manifestation coaches, and we decided to do a collab to make it really easy, really simple, 2 simple steps to end the manifestation self-sabotage, right? So as Rozana so beautifully introduced herself, I'm also a manifestation coach. I do more neuroscience, right? So the science of the brain, the science behind manifestation. We get you out of lack and create new money-making neural pathways so that we can reconfigure your electromagnetic field to manifest every effing thing. Money, abundance, you effing name it. So we collab today to just bring both of our worlds together to make this the most potent, epic collab for you, for your manifestation, so that we can stop self-sabotaging and stop cock blocking ourselves from what it is that we came here to create unapologetically.
Yeah. Oh, I love that intro. I love it. And I love that we're collabing because like I am huge on neuroscience, on quantum physics. And I'm like, okay, I want to infuse that a little bit into my practice. And like, that is your expertise. And you also like some of the identity work, which is like my expertise, the self-concept. Mm-hmm. So it's so cool that we're like bringing that together, and it's going to be so amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Yeah. I'd love for you to start us off, because in my work, my expertise isn't self-concept, right? That's your expertise. So I would love to have us start there, and then I'll give us step number 2.
Sure. So first things first, just so if anyone here is new, self-concept is self-concept, your conception of yourself, which means your perception of how you perceive yourself in relation to the world, in relation to your desires, in relation to how you perceive yourself when you have money, when you don't have money, when you have love, when you don't have love, how you feel about and perceive yourself. So it's not self-love. Self-love is a component of self-concept. Self-worth is a component of self-concept. What it is that it's about when you have what you want, who are you, right? How do you feel about yourself? How do you view money when you're spending? How do you view love when you're receiving it? Are you seeing it as like, oh, I had to work hard for it, or oh my god, why am I getting this? I should have earned this. Or is it more like leaning into this like ease of like knowing your worth, knowing you're the queen of this reality, that you're the queen of this relationship, and you're just ready to receive, right? So that's the meat and the potato of manifestation, in my opinion. Because what tends to happen is that people just focus on belief work, such as like, oh, I have all the money in the world, I have the person of my dreams, and it's like, okay, but you don't have you in place. You don't have you in alignment. It's like you can have all the money and all the love, but you won't maintain it if the self-concept, the foundation, you who is manifesting, is not in alignment with the version of you who's able to hold that amount of money, to hold that amount of love. So that being said, since we're talking about self-sabotage, what I tend to see a lot is that people seem to think that self-sabotage is like more of an action problem, and it's actually a mindset problem. Self-sabotage has so many different roots, and a big one that I've seen with so many of my clients is this protective thing. The moment they start to see movement in their reality, or they start to like step into a brand new identity, they immediately like start to get scared. They start to experience all of the doubts, and then they beat themselves up about like, oh my god, I shifted yesterday, and then this morning I'm having all these doubts. So that self-sabotage is just like the protective mechanism. And the example of love, it's almost like people have a wall around them, so it's almost like you cannot penetrate through. So whenever I'm about to receive, I'm going to look for all the reasons why this is going to go wrong. I'm going to look for all the reasons why this is not working out, or how I could be left again like it happened with me before, all that stuff. And it tends to also manifest as like that procrastination with like your routine, your manifestation routine, with the mindset, with actually doing the inner work, convincing yourself that, oh, but I've done enough, and as long as you're alive, there isn't an end point. You just have to continue to elevate. Definitely also seeing like this sense of like settling less than what you deserve. Like seeing my clients just settle for a text because they think that's all they can get. And you can definitely see how that's linked to worthiness and how much you think you can receive from a person, right? So all of that is self-concept. So it's more than just, oh, I have love, I'm adored, I'm cherished. It's about how you respond to things when you receive them, such as pushing away your opportunities the moment they're coming through, the ones that you were really working so hard to receive. Then you're suddenly like, oh, but what if I say the wrong thing at work? What if I embarrass myself? So you're identifying as this person who's constantly like making mistakes or an embarrassment. And the more we dig deep, it's like you can see how all of that is childhood, right? When you were always told that you're doing something wrong or that you're too much. Self-concept, bestie.
Yes.
So the first step, in short, is to recraft that identity, rebrand your identity completely so that you can anchor into your true worthiness story and to be the person who is past self-sabotaging themselves. Because the way I like to see it is like, if you can't get yourself fully to the new state, then make your way there smoothly. So how about we start with like, who are you when you're past constantly sabotaging yourself, constantly trying to look for all the ways that things can go wrong? How are you responding now to things? So getting that self-concept in alignment is going to make it so much easier to make the jump to the full end state.
Yes.
That's my words.
Yes. Ooh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so I'm just gonna ask a question that's coming through for those who are probably tuning in and listening. So with like shifting identity, right? What's your biggest tip for those of us who tend to get stuck in that sabotage of what you said of like, I am the person who it doesn't work out for, who never gets what I want, who never gets the loving relationship, who never gets the job. Like for someone who's kind of in that, I call it the threshold of like shifting the identity of where they are currently to where they're going, what is your tip for us for how we can like shift that identity and really allow ourselves to self-conceptualize where we're going rather than who we currently are?
Yeah, I love that question. Yeah, definitely. I hear a lot this like thing about being stuck. And from my personal experience, I've seen that when I found myself stuck, instead of pushing myself to a point of burnout, I work with my current capacity. So maybe right now it feels too much to tap into a specific feeling or a specific vision. So what I'll do instead is like get to a place of like being open to stepping into that. And maybe like I like the practical side of things. It's not just to me like woo-woo stuff. We love woo-woo, but we also love the realistic practical application. So in the example of like people saying like, oh, I can never have somebody who loves me and is going to stay with me, I actually tell some of my clients like, I want you to start looking at the relationships that actually stayed with you your whole life. Look at all the times when you showed like, for example, that side of you and you were accepted. And once they start to like journal on that and even like meditate on these memories daily and actually send love and gratitude for that, you start to like soak in the fact that, oh, I've actually always had support. Even in the moments when I felt I was alone, there was always at least one person who checked on me. So it's almost like kind of doing this thing about like allowing yourself to use physical evidence from your current reality and your past, along with like stretching your edge, which is like kind of exposing yourself to the new story so you get a little uncomfortable to push through that, but not to the extent where it's like, oh, I'm gonna affirm 1,000 times an hour so I can get there, and then you end up burning out and you end up spiraling and crying and throwing the towel and be like, I'm done with this, and then wanting it again, and then that repetitive cycle. So that's what I would suggest as a start, because it would like get the ball rolling anyway.
Yeah. Yes. Ooh, I love that. That's perfect. It's so funny as you said that with manifestation. Like I noticed, you know, being on my own journey and with my clients, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where we tend to get stuck in this cycle of like, it's working, it's amazing. Oh my God, everything just went to shit. And like we just get in this cycle and get in this loop. And do you notice that when we are seeking evidence, we tend to seek evidence of it's not working rather than seeking evidence of, oh, look what I already manifested. Look what I've already created for myself. Look what already happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the body's addicted to the past. And I've seen this with so many people where it's like, it's almost like your body's still in the past, still processing it. Your mind knows it's here. And that's why you experience that, like, kind of like that cognitive dissonance where you feel like a bit here and there and you're always wavering because your body's trying to like catch up with your mind. So it's so interesting. Because also the other piece that I see here that's like, if you've been stuck somewhere for a while, especially a specific identity or circumstance, there is a payoff. There's something that you're getting out of it, such as like, I don't want to take full control of my reality. That means I'm responsible. So I'd rather be a victim and see the world against me. And we don't know that consciously, but like when we dig deep into the subconscious, it's like, see, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Ooh, okay. This is juicy. So I wrote down when you were talking, becoming open and ready, right? So when you are identity shifting, it's almost like the way I'm hearing that is like becoming open and ready and available, or just like ready to be ready.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's so true, because it's all like, I believe like it's all created. You're not creating anything. You're selecting. You don't need to create the bedroom. You just walk into the room. You select the room. So it's more like, are you emotionally available for this thing fully with all the responsibility that comes with it? That's like the real juice.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. That is amazing. All right. So we are shifting our identity, shifting our, or creating, how would you say? You're creating a new concept of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A new concept of yourself who already has what it is that you desire.
Yeah. It's more like, how do we say this? So you have your desire. Let's say it's you want a commitment, lifelong commitment.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a commitment and constantly need this person's reassurance that they're staying and that they're not leaving, even if they're perfect and they're everything that you want. Or you can be the person who's so secure in herself and isn't moved by whether or not she gets a text back in an hour, 30 minutes, or 30 hours. Is that being so rooted in who you are and being so rooted in that identity of like, I'm always taken care of, I'm still lovable, I know who I am, you know? So it's like that self-validation.
Mm. Yes. No longer seeking validation from the external.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is, I'm like, that's something that we're all working on because that's been programmed and conditioned within us to constantly seek, search, wait, tell me if I'm doing enough.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Oh, I love that. So giving yourself the validation, becoming solid in you and certain in you.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. So that's step number one. Anything else that's coming through for you for step number one before we move on to the next one?
No, actually not at the moment.
Yeah. No, that feels really good. Yay. Okay. So for those who are joining us live, step number one for finally ending self-sabotage when it comes to manifesting everything you want for yourself, self-concept, right? Shifting your identity, which is what Rozana so beautifully said. And so step two, adding on to this, is shifting out of Newtonian physics into quantum physics, right? And so this just couples so beautifully with identity shifting and conceptualization. And if you're new to Newtonian physics, if you've never heard it, that's okay. So Newtonian physics is the energy of logic, right? A plus B equals C. The work that I do equates to what I am capable of receiving. And so when we are identity shifting, when we are shifting our self-concept, what tends to happen, like you said, is we tend to get stuck in our current circumstances, stuck in logic, stuck in, well, all I can see is what's here now. All I can see is my current job, my current relationship, the current money or lack thereof in my bank account, my current business client sales. And because that's all we can see right now, we can see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, hold it, basically. It becomes challenging for us to shift into the quantum because quantum is energy, right? Newtonian physics, logic is matter. And all of us are very programmed and conditioned to live in logic, to live in Newtonian physics. And that's where we pull in these logic limitation caps where, kind of like you said, it's like, well, based off of the relationships that I've had so far, you're looking at that and then deciding that you're not capable of a healthy, loving, nurturing relationship. Based off of the clients that I have right now in my business or lack thereof, you're then deciding that you're not worthy of having a booming, successful, abundant business, right? Based off of your current external circumstances. And so when we can, step two, shift out of Newtonian physics into the quantum, when we can shift into the energetic frequency of this new identity, of this new concept of you, and just like you said, start showing up as this person, right? And it goes beyond showing up, it's taking action and making decisions from your future self, from your quantum self, right? And so many of us are looking at what is available to us here right now in logic and Newtonian physics, and we're not taking action. We're not making the moves that is in alignment with our future self, our quantum self, our next level, our next iteration of us, of where we're meant to go, right? So yes, this will be saved. So step 2, shifting out of logic. And so a really simple way to do that is, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Have you been waiting? Have you been waiting for something to come into your reality? Have you been waiting for the money, the sales, the clients, the relationship, the career, the whatever the hell? Have you been waiting for the thing to come in to then decide if you are worthy, to then decide if you are enough, to then decide if you are abundant, successful, right? Because if you're waiting, the relationship is waiting. If you're waiting, the money's waiting. If you're waiting, the clients, the sales, your manifestation is waiting. So where are you waiting in your life? And when you can become aware of that is when you can clean up that energy. And just like Rozana said, is when you can decide to validate yourself, to decide to become worthy, regardless of what's going on in your external reality. When you can make that decision and when you can tap into the energetic frequency, aka the emotion of your desires, of your manifestation, of how you know you are going to feel when you have it, when you can tap into that, this is step 2, partnered with identity shifting and self-concept. That's when it's potent as fuck. That's when you are magnetic, because you're no longer showing up from the emotional state of lack, from the emotional state of I'm behind, I didn't do enough, I didn't work hard enough, I should be here, which feels shameful, disappointed, resentment, bitterness, frustrated, all the things, right? We no longer are showing up from what isn't here yet, from a state of lack. We get to show up, make moves, make decisions, take action from the quantum, right? From what will be, from what can be, and from the possibility of where you are going. No longer from what you see currently right here in your reality. Right? Because that's where you're massively capping yourself off, and that's where you're cock blocking yourself.
Yeah, I love all of this. Actually, I did want to ask you something, because I know you said in a piece of content of yours recently that your neural pathways are rewired or reprogrammed to lack, and that's so interesting to me. So what would you say is the difference between like your neural pathways are rewired to this and your beliefs or your mindset is rewired to this? Like, what would you say is the difference in the identity work that you'll be doing here versus there?
Yeah. So when we have, so let me just start here real quick. So I don't use the term money block because I think that that's very limiting and I don't subscribe to that. So I use cock block, as you'll hear me say. And so the 3 main quote unquote blocks that you either have 1, 2, or all 3 of these. If you have all 3, there's nothing wrong with you. Okay. So that is lack/scarcity, not enough, and unlovable. So when we have one of those main blocks, cough block, what happens is that activates something within our neural pathway. So a lot of us tend to have the neural pathway of it's not working, right? It's not working. I tried this, I've done this, it's not working. Well, where does it's not working stem from? It stems from lack and not enough. I didn't do enough. I'm not being enough. I could have done more. And so when we have that neural pathway of lack, with which, if you guys are new to neural pathways, just think of a trail that you walk over and over and over again. And so many of us are hypnotized by our old thought forms that we're not even consciously aware of what pathway our neural pathways are traveling, right? And so when you have that neural pathway of lack, not enough, it's not working, What happens then is that your reticular activating system, which is the lens, just pretend we have glasses on. It's the lens that you view your life, your relationships, your business, your career, the world through. That's going to keep showing you more and more and more of it's not working. It's not here yet. I'm behind. It's not enough, right? And so when you think of a pathway that you've been traveling over and over and over again, day in, day out, however many times a day, that becomes known and familiar to you. Okay. And like you said, with identity work, when we're shifting identities, identity shifting is uncomfortable as fuck, because when we have the neural pathways of lack, it's not working, I'm not enough, I'm unlovable, we start to, because it's so known and familiar, we start to identify as that person. Just like you said, we show up as that person. We decide that that's our truth. Okay. And so when you're shifting identities, when you're shifting habits, patterns, beliefs, thought forms, it feels very uncomfortable. And I just want to explain why, because this is going to validate so many things. It feels uncomfortable because you're stepping off a path that you've been walking on for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years, right? And when you start to take a new path, your subconscious always wants to take the path of least resistance. So that well-known familiar path, there's no resistance there. You've traveled it day in and day out. The new path, it's like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying, right? So this is where you get to see identity shifting, self-concept work, shifting out of Newtonian physics into the quantum. It will not come without discomfort. Mm-hmm. You cannot be comfortable and expect to grow.
That's a good one, because a common question that I see a lot which is like, how do I take the focus off the circumstances? If like I have bills to pay, I got things to do and responsibilities, the money's not here, I'm so overwhelmed by this, I can't seem to tap into the feeling. In a circumstance like that, how would you move through that? Well, you call your cock block to rewire your neural pathways.
I love it. Yes. Okay.
How would you rewire your neural pathway in a situation where your five senses are showing you the opposite of what you want?
Yeah. So I love this question. And so in this very specific example right there, when you're like, I got a bill in the mail, I have bills to pay. So it is very important to know that so many of us look at money from an emotional state. And we see, like, it just in our brains, in our subconscious, in society, we equate money to safety, survival, and support, right? And so when you get a bill in the mail, when you're like, I have to pay this bill, we immediately in that moment do not feel safe, right? We do not feel supported. And so this is where you get to get really, really clear on your emotional association with money. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because, and this took me like years to really embody. And if those listening, if you have an emotional reaction, like let it come out so your emotions can be seen, heard, and witnessed. Okay. Like let this land. It's not money that brings you safety. It's not money that brings you support. It never was. We just thought it was. We were told that it was, right? And if you're like, well, Kelly, then what brings me safety? What brings me support? What brings me security? Mm-hmm. You.
Yeah.
That comes from you, right? And just like you were saying, Rozana, it's like when you're seeking things outside of you to make you feel a certain way, so if you're, for example, if you're seeking happiness from money, no matter how much money you make, you're never going to feel that true, deep sense of happiness, of like ultimate joy and freedom, no matter how much money you make. Where does that come from? It comes from you. right? It comes from you. So to answer your question, when you get that bill and you're like, I have to pay this bill, feel your emotions, feel your feelings, okay? Because you can't override your emotions with logic, with like all these things. It is safe to feel your feelings. The more you feel your feelings and emotions, the more they can be processed and resolved so you can move forward. But if we just keep sweeping them under the rug, I got this bill, this is making me feel unsafe, scared, uncertain, I don't know, right? If you're not feeling those emotions and you're trying to show up as this like confident queen and you're not feeling that way, you're already in a state of resistance and you're just stacking resistance on top of resistance.
Yep.
Feel your feelings.
There's definitely a saying that's like, what you resist persists. And it's so interesting that you say that, because when you were talking about like trying to like override your emotions with like, oh, I'm just so confident, I know who I am, blah, 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 all that stuff. Actually, what that usually tends to be is like a pattern of like self-abandonment. It's like you're abandoning your feelings and choosing something else. And I bet this is also showing up in relationships where it's like putting others' needs first because it's cute to play small and be the one who's saving everyone and being the therapist friend and all that stuff. So it's interesting how it all like plays together, like money and love being the exact coming from the same family.
Yep.
And I actually wanted to ask you that something. There was a trend, I believe, a year ago or two, where they said, I don't know how many times a day was to affirm, but affirming for a number of times to rewire your neural pathways enough that if you just focus on these affirmations and ignore the 3D reality, that would rewire your neural pathways and get you everything that you want. So I wanted to hear your perspective on that and your 2 cents.
Yes. Okay. Love this question. So yes and no. Okay. So with repetition, repetition is one way to create new neural pathways, right? Just like I said with the trail, like you're walking it over and over and over again. So if you're creating a new neural pathway, repetition, walking it over and over and over again, yes, it's going to create a new neural pathway. Okay. However, if you haven't yet been taught the science of what's going on in your brain and manifestations, you may have been affirming like, I am a rich bitch, I'm a millionaire, whatever it may be, for years. And you're like, I don't feel any different and I don't see the money. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel successful. And like the why, it's so important to know the why so that you feel validated and so that you know there's nothing wrong with you and so that you can fix this. The why is because your subconscious keeps taking you back to that old and familiar neural pathway of lack, of not enough, of it's not working, right? So what you get to do is commit to, when I am here in my life, I don't know if you can see my hands, when I am here at this like opportunity in my life where something is happening, where I don't know, I get a random bill in the mail, right? I feel my feelings. And then in that moment, I have the opportunity, the choice. This is really important. I have the choice to either take the known and familiar pathway of, oh my God, nothing works out for me. Life is really hard. I'm just meant to struggle. Or I can take a new pathway of a new possibility, a new potential, all that could be, all that is available for me. And it's like, when these opportunities in life present themselves to you, you have the choice of what direction you want to take. Old and familiar, lack, it's not working, or what's unknown, uncertain, which we deem as unsafe in our subconscious, but I promise you, you are safe. All the unlimited potential and possibility available to you. It's like, which one are you going to take?
I thought this is actually really interesting because I recall times when I did manifest like a specific amount of money or a specific goal, and then I found myself like immediately looking for the next thing because I was operating from the sense of like, I'm running out, I need to save the situation. And honestly, with part of identity shifting is getting tired of your own BS.
Yes.
Like I posted something on Fest today where like your mood today is not going to matter in 3 months. Your consistency and your alignment is what will. Like your feelings are fine. They can be validated but not enabled. I feel like sometimes we take the validating it too far where it's like now we're going to keep ourselves comfortable when it's like every step in your reality, every intention that you make and every mindset piece that you implement is a choice. It's a decision at the end of the day. And it's not always going to feel good. You don't have to be happy to be consistent. Things don't have to be easy for you to persist. It's like, who said that manifesting is just when you feel good or it's just persistence when things are easy? Who the F said that?
Yes. Everything on social media is not true.
Yeah, stop the high vibe and be positive thoughts all day. It's more like I can be sad and still know that I live in an amazing house. I can be insecure today and know that I have the best partner and friend in the world. Like, we're good here. We're not going to limit ourselves to being loved conditionally or receiving money conditionally. It's like, that's so boring to me. If I'm only going to have somebody when I feel good, what the heck is the point? It's like, we want to go through life together. If I can only have a business when I'm happy, again, what is the point? That's such a limited and awful way of living, in my opinion. So, went on a bit of a rant here, but
I love it. No, I love what you just said, and this is like so valuable and important to know because I cannot tell you, like on my 12 plus journey of manifestation, and especially with, you know, everyone else who's manifesting, like on social media, you'll see just do this and everything will fall into your lap. And then as humans, we're like, nothing's happening, nothing's working. Like, great, manifestation doesn't work for me. Great, I suck at manifestation, right? And so like that, feel your feelings are valid. That is not the ultimate truth, right? That's just a story keeping you where you are.
yeah.
And so have you noticed, like, right before you're about to manifest something, right before you're about to up level, right before you're about to have this huge identity shift breakthrough, that you feel really resistant, that you feel like nothing's working?
I've actually seen that a few times. Like, there are times when it just feels like, oh, I've been in this state for a while, and then suddenly like it comes through. I'm like, oh my god! But it always comes through in a way that I didn't expect. Like, I have like 3 ways in mind, and it happens like the 4th way, or I go through this period where it's like, oh my god, everything just feels like it's difficult, and I can't seem to get anywhere. That's the time to persist and make the changes, because it's kind of like, just because it's heavy to lift the weights at the gym, it doesn't mean you're just going to drop it every time it's heavy and then complain about not growing muscles. It's like,
yes. That was a beautiful analogy. I love that. It's so true. So I'm asking you that and sharing that because so many of us, when it gets uncomfortable, heavy, hard, we're like, pull the plug. It's not going to happen. But like, that is when it's about to happen. That's when you're on the cusp of like the breakthrough and receiving your manifestation. So can you stay plugged in?
yeah.
Can you get uncomfortable as fuck and allow yourself to keep going, to keep moving forward?
I actually asked this recently, like earlier this year, to my clients. I'm like, let's say there's like a movie or something that shows you have your desires in 6 months. Can you vow to stay embodied for 6 months through the ups and downs and the quiet moments? Because who says that hard circumstance means no manifestation? Like, this part in me, the entitlement, is the reason why people like eventually find ways to sabotage their manifestation, because it's like it has to be this way or that way, otherwise it's not going to work out. And it's like, obviously you can't see all the possible realities with your conscious mind, your brain can't allow you to see all of that at once. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. You can't think of everything that you've done yesterday in 1 minute. Like, it's a lot for the brain to take in. And I'm just like, it really takes a lot of like courage and boldness and consistency, because it's like, we aren't special. We're just like dedicated. We don't stop. Even if we drop, we get up and we just keep going. And it's like,
yeah,
that's the key here. Honestly, that's the secret to manifesting.
It literally is the secret. It is, right? And it's like, can you hold the vision, hold your desire, like hold where you're going, even if you can't see it, taste it, touch it, smell it yet here in the 3D, in Newtonian physics, right? And most of us are taught and programmed to believe like, work your ass off, then you can say you're successful. Climb up the corporate ladder, then you can say that you've made it. Like, have this, then you're allowed to say that you're abundant, wealthy, happy. Then and only then. And it's like, that's never what it was about. Like, you're allowed to be happy, healthy, wealthy, abundant, successful now, right now, regardless of what you're seeing outside of you.
Right. And I like what you just said, because that's the ultimate self-sabotage. It's like, oh, I didn't work hard enough for this, so you keep looking for ways to complicate it, or you keep manifesting instances where you now have to work through another belief, where you now have to work through another circumstance so that you prove that you've worked hard enough to get this. And I see this especially with people who grew up where in spaces where they were only like celebrated when they like got good grades in school, or did their homework right, you know. And we were the same parent that we had to ourselves.
Oh my God, that is so true. And yeah, I just had this conversation with one of my recent clients, and I would like, she did something and I was like, you just said yes to yourself with fear and with that discomfort. Can we celebrate this? And she was like, I can't celebrate this right now. Right. And I was like, why? And she said, because the money isn't here yet. Right. And it's like, we are so programmed to be that way, to keep ourselves like, no, I'm not allowed unless I have this thing. No, I can't be happy unless I have this thing. And that right there is the energy of logic. That's keeping you capped and limited.
Yeah. I love this. I actually wanted to ask you for book recommendations on neuroscience and neural pathways and everything related to manifestation. Yeah, because I know people here love the science behind manifesting. So I'd love to get recommendations.
Yes. So everything that I've learned outside of my training on neurolinguistic programming and neural energetic encoding is through Dr. Joe Dispenza. So literally, like, just type in his name on Amazon and just like download on Audible or whatever you listen to, or read all of his books. Whichever one is speaking to you, I'm not even going to like plant a seed in your brain. Whichever one is speaking to any of his books, it's for you.
Oh yeah. I definitely love Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Like, that is a perfect science, self-concept, manifestation, everything book. And I want to check out You Are the Placebo. I'm sure it's a great read.
Yes. Yeah. Ooh, this was such a potent, powerful talk.
Yeah. Just one last question. Are there any scientific experiments that you're aware of that prove manifestation for the people who are like wishy-washy, such as, you know, the double slit experiment is the one that I always recommend, because it has to do with like how your observation changes what you're experiencing. But would love to hear anything from your end.
Yes. So literally all of the research is in his books. Like, if your question, and again, like, I could list, but they're all in every single one of his books. If you are, because when I came into the manifestation world, everything that I was taught was from a spiritual side. I'm a spiritual girl. I'm a witchy girl. Like, I love the spiritual. However, it wasn't until I really understood the science behind manifestation when I was like, this I can get on board with. Like, this makes sense. And this is how we can reprogram our identity, our neural pathways, and everything for ourselves. So all of the research in like every single chapter in every single one of his books is in there. Whatever everyone is speaking to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this. I loved it.
Yes. I'm so happy we can connect. And so this will be on your podcast.
Yep. And it will be on both of our pages, I believe.
Yes. And I'll put it on my podcast too. We'll do a little podcast thing. So for those who want to catch the replay, it'll be on our podcast. And here too, but we'll see. Maybe we'll make it limited time. I don't know, because this is really magical and potent.
Yeah. Please make sure you're following Kelly because she has amazing money content on neural pathways and science and all that good stuff. So give her a follow.
Thank you. And right back to you, girlfriend. This was really awesome. Yay! Thank you for having me. I loved this.
That was so much freaking fun. If you love this episode as much as I did, please take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram at @the_badassbabe so I can share and celebrate you. And I have a special gratitude gift for you. If you're feeling called, please give us a 5-star rating and write your review on Apple Podcasts. Take a screenshot, submit it. Let me know and I'll send you instant access to my Fuck Yes Money hypnosis as a thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode.